Welcome back, everyone. If this is your first time here, please subscribe and drop a comment telling us where you're from. We love hearing from you. Now, let's dive into today's story. The hospice nurse's text came through at 11:34 p.m. on a Tuesday. We need to talk about your grandmother. Tomorrow. Coffee shop on Maple Street. Come alone. I stared at my phone, sitting in my tiny apartment above the bookstore I'd opened 2 years ago with money Grandma Eleanor had loaned me. The bookstore that was finally turning a profit. The bookstore my siblings called my little hobby. Denise Rodriguez wasn't the type of nurse who sent cryptic late-night texts. She'd been caring for Grandma Eleanor for 6 months, ever since the pancreatic cancer diagnosis. Professional. Warm. The kind of person who made dying feel a little less terrifying. So when she texted me instead of my siblings, instead of my older brother Marcus who handled all of Grandma's legal affairs, or my sister Victoria who'd moved into Grandma's guest house to provide support, I knew something was wrong. I met Denise at 7 a.m., before opening the bookstore. She looked exhausted, like she'd been up all night wrestling with a decision. "Hannah," she said, sliding into the booth across from me, "I could lose my license for this. But I can't watch what's happening anymore and stay silent." My stomach dropped. "Is it Grandma? Is she? Your grandmother is dying, yes. But that's not what I need to tell you." Denise pulled out her phone, her hands shaking slightly. "Your siblings have been manipulating her. 4 months. And in 3 weeks, she's signing a new will that cuts you out completely." The coffee shop noise, the hiss of the espresso machine, the chatter of morning customers faded to white noise. "What?" I've been documenting everything because it felt wrong, but I didn't know who to tell. Denise showed me her phone. Photos of documents. Voice recordings. Video clips. "Hannah, they've been convincing your grandmother that you abandoned her. That you only care about her money. That you're planning to put her in a state facility and sell her house. None of that was true. I visited Grandma 3 times a week. I read to her, brought her favorite lemon cookies from the bakery down the street, sat with her during chemo appointments when she was still strong enough for treatment. Marcus and Victoria have been there every day," Denise continued. "But Hannah, they're not there to help. They're there to whisper poison in her ear while she's weak and confused from the pain medication." She played me a recording from her phone. Marcus's voice, clear and calculated. "Mom's really worried about you, Grandma. Hannah hasn't called in 2 weeks. I think she's only interested in your estate." The timestamp showed last Tuesday. I'd been there last Tuesday. I'd spent 4 hours reading Grandma her favorite Agatha Christie novel while she drifted in and out of sleep. That's not I was there that day. I was literally there. I know. I saw you. But they're telling her you weren't. And she's so medicated, so confused, she's starting to believe them. Denise's expression was anguished. The new will leaves everything to Marcus and Victoria. The house, the investments, the family business. You get nothing. And they're having her sign it 3 weeks from today. My grandmother, Eleanor Chen, was 78 years old. She'd immigrated from Taiwan at age 20 with $200 and a dream. She'd built a successful import business from nothing, raised 3 children after my grandfather died young, and had been the anchor of our family for as long as I could remember. She'd also always been closest to me. Her youngest grandchild. The one who learned Mandarin to talk to her in her native language. The one who'd listened to her stories about Taiwan, about building her business, about surviving in a country that didn't always welcome her. Marcus was 42, a corporate lawyer who'd always resented that Grandma's business success came from selling cheap goods to Americans. Victoria was 39, a real estate agent who'd been eyeing Grandma's property in the downtown historic district for years, calculating its development potential. And me. I was 32, the family disappointment who'd chosen books over law school, stories over status. Why are you telling me this? I asked Denise. Because your grandmother loves you. I see it in her face when you visit. She lights up in a way she doesn't with your siblings. Denise's eyes were fierce. And because what they're doing is elder abuse. Financial exploitation. It's illegal, but more than that, it's wrong. Your grandmother deserves to make her own decisions with a clear mind, not be manipulated by people she trusts. She handed me a USB drive. Everything I've documented is on here. 6 months of recordings, photos, notes. I don't know what you can do with it, but you have 3 weeks to figure it out. If you're dealing with family betrayal, hit that subscribe button. You're not alone. I spent that entire day in the back room of my bookstore, laptop open, going through Denise's evidence. My assistant manager, Kevin, handled the customers while I fell down a rabbit hole of my siblings' calculated cruelty. There were recordings of Marcus telling Grandma I'd stolen money from the bookstore loan she'd given me. Lies. I'd paid back every penny, with interest, 6 months early. Videos of Victoria actually crying, while telling Grandma that I'd said terrible things about her, that I'd called her a burden and wished she'd die faster. Things I could never say. Photos of documents Marcus had drafted, showing fake debts in my name, claiming I owed Grandma hundreds of thousands of dollars. Complete fabrications. And worst of all, a recording from 3 weeks ago. Grandma's voice, weak and confused, but Hannah was just here. She brought me cookies. Marcus's response, patient and poisonous. Grandma, that was 2 months ago. She hasn't been back since. She's too busy with her little store to care about you. I'd been there the day before. I had receipts from the bakery, timestamps on my phone showing I'd been at her house for hours. They were gaslighting a dying woman. My dying grandmother. My phone rang. Mom. Hannah, sweetheart, I need you to come to Grandma's house tomorrow. There's a family meeting about her care. My mother, Linda Chen, was Grandma Eleanor's daughter-in-law. She'd married my father 43 years ago, and he'd died of a heart attack when I was 10. Mom had always been close with Grandma, but she'd been weirdly distant lately. What kind of meeting? Just estate planning, making sure everything's in order. Marcus thinks it's time we all got on the same page. Estate planning. The new will. I'll be there, I said. That night, I called the one person I knew might help me. My father's sister, Aunt Jade. She was 65, a retired judge, and had always been the family truth-teller. Hannah. It's late, honey. What's wrong? I told her everything. The recordings, the manipulation, the will change in 3 weeks. The silence on the other end lasted so long I thought we'd been disconnected. Aunt Jade. I'm here. I'm just. Her voice cracked. I've been sensing something was wrong. Marcus has been keeping me away from Mom, saying she's too tired for visitors. I should have pushed harder. Can we fight this? Legally? If your grandmother has already been deemed mentally competent by her lawyer and doctor, it's going to be hard to prove undue influence. We'd need evidence that she's being coerced, that she's not making decisions of her own free will. She paused. But if what you're telling me is true, if Denise has documented everything, we might have a case. We need to move fast. The family meeting is tomorrow. Good. Record everything. I'm coming with you. The meeting was scheduled for 2 p.m. at Grandma's house, the beautiful Victorian she'd bought 30 years ago when her business finally took off. I arrived with Aunt Jade, both of us walking into what felt like an ambush. Marcus and Victoria were already there, sitting in the formal living room with Mom and a man I didn't recognize. He was mid-50s, wearing an expensive suit, holding a leather briefcase. Hannah, Aunt Jade. Marcus stood, his smile not reaching his eyes. We weren't expecting both of you. I'm here to support my mother, Aunt Jade said coolly. Where is she? Resting. Denise is with her upstairs. Victoria's voice was saccharine sweet. We thought it would be better to discuss the details without tiring her out. The details of what, exactly? I asked. The man in the suit stepped forward. I'm Richard Thornton, your grandmother's attorney. I've been working with Marcus and Victoria to update Mrs. Chen's estate plan to reflect her current wishes. Her wishes, I repeated. Or their wishes. Marcus's expression hardened. Hannah, this isn't about you being dramatic. Grandma has made it very clear how she wants her estate distributed. When did she make it clear? When she was lucid, or when she was so medicated she couldn't remember what day it was? That's offensive, Victoria snapped. We've been caring for Grandma every single day while you play with your books. You have no idea what she needs. I visit her 3 times a week. You used to, Marcus corrected. But you've been so busy lately, Hannah. Grandma notices. She talks about how you've abandoned her. I pulled out my phone, opening my calendar, showing the documented visits, the photos I'd taken with Grandma over the past months. I have proof I've been visiting regularly. Photos can be old, Victoria said dismissively. This was insane. They were rewriting reality right in front of me. Richard, Aunt Jade said, her judge voice emerging, I'd like to see the proposed will changes. Thornton looked uncomfortable. I'm not sure that's. I'm Eleanor Chen's daughter. I have every right to review documents that affect my mother's estate, particularly if there are concerns about her mental capacity to make these decisions. There are no concerns about her mental capacity, Marcus said quickly. Her doctor confirmed she's competent. Which doctor? I asked. Dr. Morrison, who's been her physician for 20 years. Or someone new. The flicker in Marcus's expression told me everything. They'd found a new doctor. Someone who didn't know Grandma, who'd sign off on competency for the right price. Aunt Jade saw it too. I'm requesting an independent medical evaluation before any will changes are finalized. That's not necessary, Victoria protested. It absolutely is. If you're confident in your grandmother's mental state, you won't object to an objective assessment. Richard Thornton cleared his throat. Mrs. Chen has expressed her wishes clearly. The new will reflects her desire to leave her estate to the family members who've provided consistent care and support. Meaning Marcus and Victoria, I said flatly. Meaning the children who've been present, Marcus corrected. Hannah, you made your choice when you opened that bookstore instead of joining the family business. Grandma has been very hurt by your rejection. That wasn't true. Grandma had been thrilled when I opened the bookstore. She'd come to the grand opening despite being in early-stage cancer treatment, had told everyone who'd listen how proud she was. I'd like to see my grandmother, I said. She's sleeping. Then I'll wait. Don't forget to like this video if you're on the edge of your seat. I sat in that living room for 3 hours before Denise finally came downstairs and quietly told me Grandma was awake. Marcus tried to follow me up, but Aunt Jade blocked him. Let Hannah have some time alone with her grandmother, she said firmly. Grandma Eleanor looked so small in her hospital bed, surrounded by medical equipment, photos of our family, and the books I'd been reading to her. Her eyes opened when I entered, and her face transformed with genuine joy. Hannah. My sweet girl. Hi, Grandma. I took her hand, careful of the four. How are you feeling? Tired. Always tired now. She squeezed my fingers weakly. I'm glad you came. I was worried you'd forgotten about me. My heart broke. Grandma, I could never forget about you. I was here 2 days ago. We read Miss Marple together. She looked confused. 2 days ago? Marcus said. He said you hadn't visited in weeks. Marcus is wrong. Look. I showed her my phone, the photos of us together, time-stamped. See. Tuesday. Thursday before that. Last Sunday. Tears filled her eyes. I'm so confused lately. The medication makes everything fuzzy. Marcus and Victoria keep telling me things, and I don't remember. What things, Grandma? That you're angry with me. That you want to sell my house. That you only care about money. She was crying now. They say you're planning to put me in a home. None of that is true. Grandma, I love you. I would never. They showed me papers. Documents with your name. Debts you owe me. Grandma, I paid back the bookstore loan 6 months ago. You signed the receipt. Do you remember? Her expression crumbled. I don't remember anything anymore. I don't know what's real. This was what Marcus and Victoria had done. They deliberately confused her, used her medication and her fear and her dying brain against her. Grandma, listen to me carefully. Marcus and Victoria are lying to you. They're trying to manipulate you into changing your will. I have proof. Why would they do that? For your money. For your house. For your business. She closed her eyes, looking impossibly weary. I'm dying, Hannah. What does it matter? It matters because they're stealing from you. They're stealing your choices. And they're stealing our family's legacy. Grandma Eleanor had built that import business to support her children, her grandchildren, her community. She'd always planned to leave it in trust, managed by all of us together, funding scholarships for immigrant students, supporting local businesses. The new will, according to the documents I'd glimpsed, left everything to Marcus and Victoria with no restrictions. They could do whatever they wanted. And knowing them, they'd liquidate everything within a year. I need you to trust me, I said. Can you do that? She opened her eyes, looking at me with the clarity I remembered from my childhood. I've always trusted you, Hannah. You're the only one who learned my language, who listened to my stories. Then I need you to help me. Will you talk to a different doctor? Will you tell the truth about what Marcus and Victoria have been saying to you? I'm scared, she whispered. They're family. If I'm wrong about them. If you're wrong, then nothing changes. But if I'm right, we need to stop them before they finalize this new will. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded. Okay, I'll help. I called Aunt Jade, who came up immediately. Together, we explained everything to Grandma, showing her the evidence Denise had collected. With each recording, each photo, Grandma's expression grew more devastated. My own grandchildren, she kept saying. My own blood. Not me, Grandma. I'm still here. I'll always be here. By the time we finished, it was dark outside. Marcus and Victoria had left, probably confident they'd won. They had no idea what was coming. Aunt Jade made phone calls throughout the night. By morning, we had an appointment with Dr. Morrison, Grandma's real physician. A forensic psychologist who specialized in elder abuse. And a lawyer named Catherine Walsh who'd built her career fighting financial exploitation. This is going to get ugly, Catherine warned me when we met the next day. Your siblings will fight back. They'll claim you're the one manipulating your grandmother. They'll use your financial relationship, the bookstore loan, against you. Let them try. I have documentation for everything. Good. Because we have 3 weeks to build an airtight case before that new will get signed. Comment below if you've ever dealt with greedy family members. The independent medical evaluation happened 3 days later. Dr. Morrison, who'd known Grandma for 2 decades, conducted a thorough cognitive assessment while Marcus and Victoria watched like hawks. Mrs. Chen, Dr. Morrison asked gently, can you tell me about your grandchildren? I have 3. Marcus, Victoria, and Hannah. When did you last see each of them? Grandma looked confused. Marcus says Hannah hasn't visited in months. But I have photos. She trailed off, uncertain. Do you remember Hannah's visits? I think so. The medication makes it hard to remember. Dr. Morrison made notes. Has anyone been telling you things about Hannah that concerned you? Marcus and Victoria say she's stealing from me. That she wants to sell my house. That she's angry I'm dying. Grandma's voice broke. But when Hannah is here, she doesn't seem angry. She reads to me. Brings me cookies. How often does she visit? I don't know anymore. They tell me one thing, but I feel something different. After 2 hours of assessment, Dr. Morrison met with us privately. Marcus and Victoria insisted on being present, along with their lawyer Thornton. Mrs. Chen is experiencing significant cognitive impairment due to her medication and the progression of her disease, Dr. Morrison said. However, she also shows clear signs of being influenced by external sources. Her memories are inconsistent with documented facts. Meaning? Marcus demanded. Meaning she's being gaslit. Someone has been systematically feeding her false information, and in her vulnerable state, she can't distinguish between reality and manipulation. That's absurd, Victoria protested. We've been caring for her. You've been isolating her, Aunt Jade interrupted. Controlling her information. Feeding her lies about Hannah. We have evidence, I added, pulling out my laptop. 6 months of documented manipulation. I played the recordings. All of them. Marcus telling Grandma I hadn't visited when I'd been there the day before. Victoria crying about fictional insults. The fake financial documents. Thornton's face went pale. Marcus looked furious. Victoria started crying, real crying this time, not the performance tears. Where did you get those? Marcus demanded. That doesn't matter. What matters is that they prove you've been systematically abusing our grandmother for financial gain. This is illegal recording. Actually, Catherine Walsh said, stepping forward, in this state, only one party needs to consent to recording. And the recordings were made by a healthcare provider documenting suspected abuse, which is not only legal but mandatory under elder abuse reporting laws. Dr. Morrison cleared her throat. Based on this evidence and my assessment, I cannot certify that Mrs. Chen is making decisions of her own free will. Any will changes made under these circumstances would be invalid. You can't do that, Thornton protested. I absolutely can. And I'm filing a report with Adult Protective Services. The meeting exploded into chaos. Marcus shouted about lawsuits. Victoria accused me of manipulating Denise. Thornton tried to claim the evidence was inadmissible. But it didn't matter. Dr. Morrison had made her determination. The new will couldn't be signed. That's when Marcus played his final card. Fine, he said coldly. Then we're filing for guardianship. If Grandma isn't mentally competent to change her will, she's not competent to manage her affairs. We'll have a court appoint a guardian. And that guardian will be me. My blood ran cold. Guardianship would give Marcus complete control over Grandma's medical care, her finances, her life. And once he had that power, there would be nothing I could do to stop him. Over my dead body, Aunt Jade said. You're not even her child, Victoria shot back. You have no standing. Actually, Catherine Walsh interjected, guardianship requires proving the person is completely incapacitated. Mrs. Chen is dying, but she's not incapacitated. She's being manipulated. There's a significant legal difference. We'll let a judge decide, Marcus said. He looked at me with pure hatred. You just made this so much worse, Hannah. You could have walked away with nothing. Now you're going to watch us take everything. Don't miss what happens next. Share this video with someone who needs to hear this story. The guardianship hearing was scheduled for 2 weeks later, giving us barely any time to prepare. Catherine Walsh worked around the clock, building our case while Aunt Jade coordinated character witnesses and Denise documented Grandma's daily lucidity. The key is proving that Eleanor has moments of complete clarity, Catherine explained. That she understands her situation and can make informed decisions when she's not being manipulated. We scheduled visits with Grandma during her best hours, early morning before the heavy pain medication kicked in. Denise helped us establish a routine where Grandma could speak freely without Marcus or Victoria present. During one of these visits, Grandma told me something that changed everything. "Hannah, I need to show you something." She gestured weakly to her nightstand. "Bottom drawer. There's a notebook." I found it, a leather-bound journal, worn from years of use. Inside, Grandma had documented everything. Years of family history, business decisions, and most importantly, her true wishes for her estate. "I've been keeping this since your grandfather died," she said. "I knew someday my children might fight over money. I wanted there to be no confusion about what I wanted." The journal was devastating. Page after page of Grandma's careful handwriting, documenting her plans to split the estate equally among her 3 grandchildren, with the business held in trust to fund community programs. Dated entries going back 5 years, all consistent, all clear. And then, 6 months ago, right when Denise started working with Grandma, the entries changed. They became confused, contradictory. Notes about Hannah being ungrateful and absent appeared suddenly, in handwriting that was shakier, less certain. "Grandma, do you remember writing these recent entries?" She looked at the pages, confused. "Some of them. But some. I don't remember thinking those things about you. Because you didn't think them. Someone told you to write them." We brought the journal to Catherine Walsh, who immediately recognized its significance. "This is perfect. It shows a clear pattern of Eleanor's wishes, followed by a sudden change that coincides with Marcus and Victoria's increased presence. Any judge will see the manipulation. But Marcus had his own evidence. He'd hired a private investigator who'd been documenting my life for the past month. Photos of me leaving the bookstore late at night, looking exhausted. Credit card statements showing I'd been struggling financially before the store became profitable. Emails I'd sent to friends complaining about the stress of running a business. At the guardianship hearing, Marcus's lawyer painted me as the manipulator. Hannah Patterson was in significant debt before her grandmother gave her a $200,000 loan. She has clear financial motive to maintain access to Mrs. Chen's assets. She paid back that loan, Catherine countered. With interest. 6 months early. That's not the behavior of someone exploiting a vulnerable person. Or it's the behavior of someone establishing credibility before making a bigger play. Marcus's lawyer pulled out bank statements. Hannah has been depositing checks from E. Chen monthly for the past 3 months. $5,000 each time. My stomach dropped. I had been receiving checks from Grandma, but not for me. She'd been giving me money to donate to the literacy nonprofit I volunteered with. I had receipts, documentation of every penny going to charity. But the way Marcus's lawyer presented it, it looked like I was stealing. "Your Honor," I said, standing up despite Catherine's attempt to stop me. "Those checks were for charity donations. Grandma has been supporting the Immigrant Literacy Foundation through me. I have complete documentation." "Documentation you created," Marcus interrupted. "How convenient." The judge, a tired-looking woman named Judge Patricia Winters, held up her hand. "I've heard enough. This case is clearly complex and emotionally charged. I'm ordering a full investigation before making any decisions about guardianship." "Your Honor," Marcus's lawyer protested, "Mrs. Chen needs immediate protection. Then I'm appointing a temporary guardian ad litem, a neutral third party, to oversee her affairs while we investigate. Neither Marcus Patterson nor Hannah Patterson will have control until this is resolved." It was the best outcome we could hope for, but it also meant we were in limbo. And Grandma was still dying. That night, I sat in the bookstore after closing, surrounded by the books Grandma had helped me buy, and cried. Kevin found me there an hour later. Hannah. I locked up but I saw the light. What's wrong? I told him everything. Kevin had been my friend since college, had supported me through opening the bookstore, had been there when I was struggling to make rent. They're going to win, I said. Marcus has money, lawyers, connections. I have what? A USB drive from a nurse and a notebook? You have the truth, Kevin said. That has to count for something. But I wasn't sure it did. The legal system wasn't about truth. It was about evidence, presentation, money. The investigation took 10 days. The court-appointed guardian ad litem, a woman named Susan Rodriguez, interviewed everyone. She spoke to Grandma during her lucid hours. She reviewed all the evidence, all the recordings, all the documentation. She also did something neither side expected. She interviewed the staff at Grandma's import business. Grandma's employees, it turned out, had a lot to say about Marcus and Victoria. About how they'd been pressuring Grandma to sell the company. About meetings where they'd discussed liquidating assets. About plans to fire half the workforce and offshore production to increase profits. Mrs. Chen built this company on fair wages and quality products, one longtime manager testified. Her grandchildren want to gut it for quick cash. Susan's report was damning. She recommended against guardianship for Marcus, citing clear evidence of financial motivation and manipulation. She also recommended continued monitoring of Grandma's situation but found no evidence that I was exploiting her. When the final hearing arrived, Judge Winters read the report aloud. Marcus and Victoria sat stone-faced as their manipulation was detailed in clinical language. It's clear to this court that Marcus Patterson and Victoria Patterson have engaged in systematic manipulation of their grandmother for financial gain. Their petition for guardianship is denied. Victoria started crying. Marcus looked like he wanted to flip the table. Furthermore, Judge Winters continued, I'm ordering that any will changes made in the past 6 months be reviewed for validity, given the evidence of undue influence. Your Honor, Thornton protested, you can't. I absolutely can. And I'm referring this case to the District Attorney's Office for investigation of potential elder abuse charges. The courtroom erupted. Marcus and Victoria's lawyer tried to argue, but it was over. They'd lost. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. The criminal investigation moved slowly, but the damage to Marcus and Victoria was immediate. Their manipulation had been exposed in court, documented in legal filings. Marcus's law firm put him on leave. Victoria lost her real estate license pending the investigation. But the real victory came 3 days after the hearing when I sat with Grandma during one of her clear moments. I'm sorry, she said, holding my hand. I'm so sorry I doubted you. You were sick and scared. They took advantage of that. I should have been stronger. Grandma, you survived cancer, built a business from nothing, raised 3 children alone. You're the strongest person I know. Being vulnerable at the end of your life doesn't change that. She smiled, that beautiful smile I remembered from childhood. I want to fix this. While I still can. With Catherine Walsh's help, we drafted a new will, one that reflected Grandma's true wishes. The estate would be split equally among her 3 grandchildren, but with a major caveat. Marcus and Victoria's shares would be held in trust and released only if they completed elder abuse prevention training and agreed to work with the Immigrant Literacy Foundation for 1 year. Make them understand what they almost destroyed, Grandma said. Make them see the people they hurt. The import business would continue operating as Grandma had always intended, with profits funding scholarships and community programs. I would serve on the board, but so would longtime employees who understood Grandma's vision. It was fair. It was just. It was perfectly Grandma. Marcus and Victoria contested it, of course. They hired new lawyers, filed appeals, claimed Grandma was still being manipulated. But the evidence was overwhelming. The investigation had documented everything. Their own recordings had damned them. 6 weeks after the final will was signed, I sat with Grandma Eleanor in her garden. She was in a wheelchair now, too weak to walk, but she'd insisted on seeing her roses one more time. "Tell me about the bookstore," she said. I told her about the mystery book club I'd started, about the kid who discovered Agatha Christie, about the elderly woman who came in every Wednesday to read in the corner. "You created something good," Grandma said. "Something that matters. That's all I ever wanted for you. I learned from the best." She squeezed my hand. "Hannah, when I'm gone, promise me something. Anything. Don't hate your brother and sister. They were wrong, they were cruel, but they're still family. Someday, maybe, they'll understand what they almost lost." "I don't know if I can forgive them, Grandma." "I'm not asking you to forgive. I'm asking you not to hate. There's a difference." She looked at her roses, at the garden she'd tended for 30 years. "Hate is poison. It doesn't hurt them. It hurts you." Grandma Eleanor died 3 weeks later, peacefully in her sleep with Denise holding her hand and all 3 of us grandchildren in the room. Marcus and Victoria stood on one side of the bed, me on the other, all of us crying despite everything that had happened. At the funeral, Marcus approached me. He looked older, diminished. "Hannah, don't," I said. "I'm not ready." He nodded, accepting that. Victoria kept her distance, unable to even look at me. The investigation concluded 2 months after Grandma's death. Marcus and Victoria were charged with attempted financial elder abuse, which they eventually pled down to community service and restitution. They had to repay the money they'd cost Grandma in legal fees, work with elder advocacy organizations, and complete intensive ethics training. It wasn't jail time, but it was public humiliation. Their reputations were destroyed. Their careers were over. And they had to live with what they'd done to someone who'd loved them unconditionally. The import business continued thriving under new management. The scholarships Grandma had dreamed about became reality, helping dozens of immigrant students attend college. The bookstore expanded, opening a second location focused on multilingual children's books. And me. I inherited Grandma's journal, her recipes, her stories. The things that actually mattered. 1 year after Grandma's death, Victoria reached out. A simple text, "Can we talk?" We met at the same coffee shop where Denise had first told me about the manipulation. Victoria looked different, thinner, tired, older. "I don't expect forgiveness," she said immediately. "I don't deserve it. But I need you to know I'm getting help. Therapy. I'm trying to understand why I did what I did." "Why did you?" She was quiet for a long moment. "Jealousy. You were always Grandma's favorite. You got the loan for your bookstore. You got her time, her attention. And I wanted to hurt you. Marcus wanted the money, but I wanted to hurt you." Her voice cracked. "I'm so sorry, Hannah. I was never Grandma's favorite. She loved all of us. I know that now. But back then, I couldn't see it. I was so angry, so bitter, I couldn't see anything clearly. We talked for 2 hours. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, maybe not ever. But it was a start. A recognition that we'd all been damaged by what had happened, and that healing would take time. Marcus never apologized. He moved to another state, changed careers, disappeared from family gatherings. Some people can't face what they've done. But Victoria showed up. Slowly, carefully, she started rebuilding relationships. She volunteered at the Immigrant Literacy Foundation, working directly with the families she'd once dismissed. She attended bookstore events, supporting the business she'd once called a hobby. It would never be the same. Trust, once shattered, is never fully restored. But it was something. If you made it to the end, thank you for witnessing our story. Drop a comment sharing your own experiences with family betrayal over inheritance. 2 years after Grandma's death, I stood in the bookstore during our anniversary celebration. The walls were covered with photos, Grandma at the grand opening, kids discovering new books, our literacy program graduates. Kevin handed me a glass of champagne. To Eleanor Chen. None of this would exist without her. To Grandma, I echoed. A young woman approached, nervous and excited. Hannah Patterson. I'm Mai Chen. Your grandmother sponsored my mother's immigration 30 years ago. I just graduated from medical school using the scholarship your grandmother's foundation provided. I wanted to say thank you. This was Grandma's real legacy. Not the money Marcus and Victoria had fought over. Not the house or the business. This. Lives changed. Opportunities created. Community built. My grandmother would be so proud to meet you, I said. I wish I could have thanked her personally. She knows. Wherever she is, she knows. That night, I dreamed about Grandma's garden. She was there, tending her roses, young and healthy. She looked up and smiled. You did good, Hannah, she said in Mandarin. You understood what mattered. I woke up crying, but not sad tears. Grateful tears. The bookstore continues growing. Victoria and I have coffee once a month, slowly rebuilding something that resembles sisterhood. Marcus remains absent, a ghost who sends impersonal cards at Christmas but never visits. And that's okay. Some relationships can't be repaired, and that's not a failure. It's just reality. Grandma Eleanor had left me her journal, her recipes, and her wisdom. But more than that, she'd left me an example of how to live with purpose, how to forgive without forgetting, and how to build something that mattered. That was the real inheritance. And unlike money, it could never be stolen. If you made it to the very end, thank you for witnessing our journey. This story isn't just about inheritance and betrayal, it's about redemption, growth, and understanding that family is complicated, messy, and sometimes broken, but still worth fighting for. Drop a comment sharing what legacy means to you. Subscribe for more real stories about family, justice, and finding your way through impossible situations. Remember, real wealth is measured in lives changed, not dollars accumulated.